Hi everyone. So the goal of this lecture is to tie together like different concepts that we have explored over the past week and earlier on in the semester. And I'm gonna start by pausing on the notion of a network public as formulated by Dana Boyd, who is one of the main social media scholars and researchers in this country. So Boyd argues that a network public, and she's thinking about publics that emerge especially from social network sites such as Facebook and Twitter, as four structural affordances. There are four features that define a network public. The first one is persistence, as online expressions are recorded and archived, something that does not really happen with offline publics. Second is visibility, as content can be easily moved from one context to another, therefore multiplying audiences. However, this spreadability of content also means that what scales may not always be ideal, in that these audiences may not be the audiences you originally intended to communicate what you are communicating to, for example, a circle of friends or acquaintances. And fourth, content in network publics can be accessed through search, something also that is not possible to do in offline publics. So there are three main consequences that derive from this. First, we have invisible audiences. Knowing our addressees, as we have seen, is key for us to decide how to communicate and present ourselves. Yet in network publics, we often do not know whom we are speaking to. Second, we get this phenomenon of context collapse, as the coexistence of multiple audiences makes it difficult, as Merowitz says, to navigate social situations that are normally separate, some of which might be personal and intimate, and some of which may be more public. And therefore, you get a blurring of the private sphere and the public sphere, which Boyd herself and Alice Morwick explore this dimension, this intersection of the private and the public, in the article you have to read for today. So the article, I tweet honestly, I tweet passionately, is based on an empirical research that Boyd and Morwick conducted around 2009 by interviewing, we might say that Twitter at the time was still in its infancy, or it was really becoming popular around 2009. So they interviewed, tried to interview the 249 most followed accounts via Twitter, by sending them questions, via Twitter, and a subset of users with 1,000 to 15,000 followers, which for that time were a significant number of followers. And they received responses from 226 responses from 181 users. So I want you to be mindful that Boyd and Morwick chose a sample of users that are popular Twitter users, not just any Twitter users, but users who get a lot of followers. These are some of the research questions they asked. Who do you imagine reading your tweets? Who do you tweet to? What makes an individual seem authentic on Twitter? What won't you tweet about? What subjects are inappropriate for Twitter? And from the responses they got, they saw that some claim that they, for example, tweet to themselves. I tweet honestly, I tweet passionately, pure expression of my heart is one of the responses they get, meaning that this person is really like this Twitter user writing a diary, and therefore writing very honestly to herself, keeping herself in mind as her own imagined audience, and also to their actual friends and acquaintances. So this ideal audience, right, is seen as an extension of the self, as a mirror of the self. Some claim that they write different tweets to target different subset of followers. So this set of users is actually very mindful of who is actually following them, and the phenomenon of micro-celebrity on Twitter can be also explained with the fact that these users know that their followers need to be managed. But Boyd and Morwick also ask whether authenticity is important, right? They seem to get from the different responses a certain emphasis on authenticity, on the importance of authenticity. But what is authentic, right? They ask, and they get a number of responses. Some users say that authenticity means being human, means making no marketing speak, meaning no self-branding. You just need to be yourself instead of wearing a mask or projecting an image of yourself. The users also say that they engage, however, in a lot of self-censorship. That is, they monitor themselves by constantly asking themselves what is inappropriate. Am I now being too personally? Am I oversharing, for example, giving too much information about my private life that so many of my followers may not be interested in? Others think that the best way to go is to strike a balance between personal tweets, right? Tweets that say something about who you are, and informative tweets that, for example, embed links and references to comments on things, occurrences that go on in the world. And this seems to be reflected by a research that was conducted by a group of researchers at Rutgers University in 2010, who ultimately divided Twitter users in two macro categories. The me-formers are those who mostly speak about themselves, and the informers are those who promote like information that is produced by others. At the end of the article, Morwick and Boyd offer a compelling definition, I think, of the network audience. They write, while the broadcast audience is a faceless mask, right? The broadcast audience is the audience of television or radio, for example. The network audience is unidentified but contains familiar faces. It is both potentially public and personal. Social media participants are far more concerned with parents or employers viewing their Twitter stream than a complete stranger. And this is an interesting definition, precisely because it allows us to reflect about context collapse and about the hybrid nature of the network audience. So on the basis of this definition of the article in general, I'm asking you, do you think that the network audience of social media is closer to the imaginary or the symbolic, to use Lacanian categories that we have explored earlier on in the semester? And what are the effects of one, meaning the imaginary, or the other, or the symbolic, on our online behavior? Second, context collapse always risks to put us in embarrassing situations. There should be no question mark here, I apologize. Do you think that we should always be aware of the informational context, or is there a benefit in being inadvertently exposed to that which we do not know, right? So should different contexts, right, friends, family, the general public, should always be kept separate so that we can act accordingly? Or perhaps, our fascination with social media can also be explained with the fact that context collapse creates unpredictable situations. Thank you for watching this presentation. I'm looking forward to your responses.